It's a recorded session, guys, so I wanted just to let you know. Some people will join us in the course of the session, so it's great that we have a permission from Matt to record all this conversation today, so that people may also access the recording at a later stage. So let us start. First of all, thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Tiziana O'Hara. I work for an organization called the Cooperative Alternatives. We are based in Northern Ireland. And we have just started a series called the Global Co-ops series, where we wanted to invite emerging trends around the cooperative movement and talk about that in Ireland and try to make it the focus of potentially inspiring new cooperatives here. We have been doing webinars and supported by the Belfast City Council all through 2021. So we needed to thank the Belfast City Council for their actual real input in cooperative development, because through them we were able to really have the opportunity to keep going a lot of conversation around the cooperatives in Northern Ireland, where we know we could do better from a cooperative point of view. So we had done a different kind of webinars, all supported by the Belfast City Council. Some of the webinars were about skills. How do we get better to do our own cooperatives? And for instance, that was about community shares, and that was about something about the conflict resolution, something about the consensus we were just talking about. And and also we did a series about raising awareness of the new cooperatives in our region. So those were, for instance, in the recent quarter, Good to Grow and Rubble Co-op. But today it's all about global co-ops and try to understand how this new trend of courier co-ops could actually inspire some of our co-ops here on this part of the island. So this is why we are so excited and welcome Matt Nicholson from York Collective. Thank you very much, Matt, for giving us your time. And this is all about you now. We are listening to your story, and we'll try to learn from your story and try to make that connection between what you are doing to our locality, what we could do. So again, it's Cooperative Alternative is a cooperative development body. If you need support after this session, please do ask us. If not, also Matt will give you plenty of information of other organizations that can help you. So fantastic. I stop sharing, Matt, and I let you now introduce yourself and your York Collective. Thank you again.
Hi, thanks for that, Tiziana. I'll just share my screen. So can you see first slide, York Collective, member of CoopCycle? Yeah, good. So yeah, I'm a member of York Collective, cycle courier co-op based in York. And we're a member of CoopCycle, which is well, it says they're European, but we're now international federation of delivery co-ops, which is democratically governed by the members, the co-op members. So first I'm going to show a video that was filmed last year, I think, that covers CoopCycle generally and some of the other co-ops involved, mainly from Madrid, I think, La Pájara. And then I'll describe CoopCycle as a federation in a little bit more detail, and then York Collective, the cooperative, our cooperative, in more detail after that. So this sound plays for you. It's about 10 minutes,
since the beginning of March, there is this new coronavirus pandemic, and we are almost all in our houses getting stuff delivered.
We have no employment rights really. There's no sick pay, no holiday pay.
You don't care about your stuff. How they're delivering their food, how they get attacked by knife.
It's my life, it's my bike, I have to pay the rent, I have to eat.
They are in the front line of the crisis.
Una alternativa es autodeterminar el trabajo.
We just have to use the latest tools that were created by capitalism and just extend them to implement socialism.
We are plotting.
Oh, sorry. I'll start. Sorry, I was doing something in the background. If I can step it forward. No.
Since the beginning of March, there is this new coronavirus pandemic, and we are almost all in our houses getting stuff delivered.
We have no employment rights really. There's no sick pay, no holiday pay.
You don't care about your stuff. How they're delivering their food, how they get attacked by knife.
It's my life, it's my bike, I have to pay the rent, I have to eat.
They are in the front line of the crisis.
Una alternativa es autodeterminar el trabajo.
We just have to use the latest tools that were created by capitalism and just extend them to implement socialism.
We are plotting their demise under the same platforms they built for themselves.
The people delivering things at homes are maintaining the society alive.
My name is Cristina. I'm a courier here in Madrid. Come from Latin America. I started a co-op. It's called La Pájara Ciclomensajería.
El proyecto de La Pájara es un proyecto cooperativo de 6 personas aquí en Madrid que han trabajado en algunas de estas grandes compañías como Deliveroo y Globo, y conociendo, teniendo experiencia del trabajo, han decidido crear su propio proyecto.
Well, the working conditions here, for example, with Deliveroo, Uber Eats, had made a really difficult environment to have well-paid jobs. Like, you don't have social security, you don't have insurances, you have to put on your own bike, your own equipment, your own everything. It's in a total disadvantage for the rider.
Nowadays, when you're hungry, you can order food from a gig company like Uber Eats or Deliveroo. You choose what you want, a rider will deliver your food. You pay the gig company, who is also making a percentage from the restaurants. They pay the rider a small amount and keep the rest of the profits for themselves and the shareholders. In a cooperative, the rider who delivers the food also owns a stake in the organization and is paid fairly and evenly.
So I'm Alex, I'm 35 years old, I'm a web developer. I got into this because the brother of my ex-girlfriend, when he found this job in the gig economy, he was really happy because he could choose how much time he wants to work. But it's the platform who is making the wage conditions, so they can change it when they want, and the riders, they have nothing to say because they need the job. The cooperative idea, it was a lot of people gathered together, wanting to change, wanting to create new worlds. So I started coding CoopCycle as a side project. Actually, the app, it started as a clone of the delivery platform. So it is a logistics software, and on top, there is e-commerce. We want to make a software for bike deliveries managed as a common.
Aujourd'hui, ça fait 1 an et demi qu'on travaille à essayer de mobiliser un réseau de coopératives qui seraient intéressés pour mutualiser des services, dont le logiciel, mais pas uniquement le logiciel. Par exemple, la question de l'assurance, de la salarisation.
En vrai, j'ai regardé la structure des données de Deliveroo en scrutant leur page. J'ai l'impression qu'ils font pareil. En gros, il y a chaque resto, il crée toutes ses options. Et ensuite, il les assigne à chaque produit, c'est comme on a fait là, quoi.
Et moi, ça m'a intéressé parce que ça permettait de réactualiser des questions qui paraissent vieilles, la question du prolétariat, de la lutte des classes, à travers l'outil numérique, à travers la numérisation. Par exemple, la question de la propriété collective de l'outil de production.
Ya apareces ahora, ahí está. Ahí estás tú. Mira, pone MA de Martino.
Claro. Y voy a calle Velázquez, 59.
A la orden. Aquí tiene que recoger el paquete y tiene que volver por aquí, por atrás, donde él quiera, a entregar aquí. Mira, ya está viniendo. Ya está viniendo. Está viniendo por ahí arriba ahora. Sí, es que está ahí. Mira, justo. Vamos, que tengo hambre.
La diferencia que tenemos fundamental con las grandes empresas es que todo lo que se va generando se queda en la cooperativa. Aparte de poder pagar dignamente los repartidores, podemos también darles cobertura total a nivel de seguridad social y profesionalizar el trabajo.
Hola, ¿pedido de Swansea?
Mire, le abro la puerta antes del ascensor, que yo llamo al ascensor para que pueda subir.
De acuerdo.
Doing this, it's revolutionary in the sense of that we're actually doing it, you know, that we are not dreaming about it. We are a response, we are an answer.
In Spain, there is La Pájara. In France, there is Les Coursiers Bordelais in Bordeaux, Traboulotte in Lyon, Les Coursiers Nantais in Nantes, Lille Bike in Lille, Olvo in Paris, Belgium, Molenbeek and Rayon Neuf.
Our biggest challenge is like to people to know, one, that we exist as a co-op, and two, that CoopCycle exists as an alternative to the platforms.
When we started the project at the very beginning, this was not really serious, but of course I know it's not a joke anymore. It's really serious and it's getting more.
So this is CoopCycle, a network of bike delivery co-ops operating at local scale and coordinating at higher scale.
I hope we do influence someone else and looking for alternatives. And if an alternative is not an option, at least to be conscious enough to ask for the rights you deserve and own.
Right, so yeah, that hopefully gives you a little bit of a flavour of CoopCycle and the scale as well, although that's a little bit outdated. And the context is maybe, with regards to the timelines, is a little bit out for that, for kind of artistic purposes, I suppose. So CoopCycle as a project began in 2017. About the time when there was kind of a growing discontent from riders across Europe. There was a time when conditions with the platform, when working for the platforms or on behalf of the platforms, were changing, and so there was a growing kind of, I suppose, social political movement, and a group of volunteers in Paris, I think, got together and started exploring like alternatives. So those group of volunteers consisted of Mex, Alex in the video, and Kevin and several others, all with their own distinct specialisms. So there's lawyers involved, there's people into marketing, all professionals in their own right, volunteering their time to create this catalyst, I suppose. So the idea they came up with was what we want to do is create an alternative model where riders are the cornerstone of a bicycle delivery activity, which then led to them, fleshing out that idea and it becoming a project to create a network of local worker-owned bicycle delivery cooperatives strengthened through the power of collectivity. The worker-owned aspect, there is some flexibility in that. I know there are multi-stakeholder co-ops involved, but again, the worker representation within that co-op is quite high, it's quite strong. So. And then the core values were decided upon, and this is more latterly. Democratic governance of the Federation of Local Co-ops was kind of baked in from the beginning. Sharing the value generated, that surplus generated by the business to go to the workers, again, baked in, although with the, I'm not totally 100% on how it works within those multi-stakeholder co-ops that do exist. But yeah, it's still an integral part to it, is that surplus value goes to the workers, or is controlled at least by the workers. And then the means of production in this case, which is the software, the platform, which consists of the logistics back end as well as the e-commerce kind of Deliveroo, Uber Eats-esque front end to it, is owned by the Federation. So all members of the Federation, all cooperative members of the Federation are co-owners of that software. So at the moment, there's around, I think just under 70 co-ops across the world, doing about 500,000 deliveries annually. So our
hello, are we all back?
Yeah. So our federated purchasers, like using the buying power of the 70 or so co-ops involved to make bulk purchases of items, like to reduce the capital cost. And then marketing and onboarding of new co-ops and training of new co-ops and granted by, and basically all the support that's needed to grow these. We're looking to at least cover some of those fields to offer some basic advice. Yeah, but that's again still being worked on. So this is a map, but it's not too clear, but you get a general idea of the spread of co-ops. So York is up there. And some of these aren't quite up to date. So we've had members that have joined and for whatever reason, they're not now in a capacity to still use the platform. So it's not quite up to date. And yeah, so we're one of the, as a federation, one of the first platform co-ops. I know there's Equal Care and a few others that are a similar sort of age, but it's still a very new form of co-op. And I think most people involved in the platform co-ops are still trying to find their feet in some regard. But yeah, aside from it just being a platform co-op, we have a community, and we've met. This is from the first AGM, which I didn't go to. We hadn't quite joined the federation then, and this was in France. Yeah, there's guys from Rayon Neuf, I think on the left, Crow based in Berlin. Can't remember who that is on the other side, but yeah, there's a kind of, and the backgrounds of all the people involved are very different as well. The routes to becoming part of the federation, setting up their co-ops respectively. So how does it work in reality? So the federation's currently got 2 salaried workers. So there's Nex, the developer, and Adrian, the coordinator, and they're working full-time on the project. There's still a core of volunteers that make up the association of volunteers that eventually the project's aim is to transfer all the functions that the volunteers are fulfilling at the moment to the cooperative members of the federation. So payment of infrastructure is covered by contributive system. This changed recently, but I can pass on the latest payment structure if it's of interest to you. The software is covered by a copyleft license, which was created by the federation. We sought some external expertise as well, but lots of it was drafted by the volunteer association. It used to be, and you may still find references to it being open source, but that's not the case anymore. There were some issues around, other projects that had used the source material and not passed it on to us as the federation. So yeah, we transferred over to copyleft license, so only cooperatives can use the software. And then the federation structure. So this has changed a little bit as well. So now there's a board with places on it for budget, development, etc., coordination. Rather than there being working groups, there are now elected members of the co-ops fulfilling those roles, for which they get some compensation for their time. So yeah, it's based on governance is based on one co-op, one vote. So at general assemblies, each co-op gets to vote on each proposal that gets put forward, and they generally happen every year. Well, they have done so far. The first 2 years were in person, and then the next 2 years, last year and this year, were conducted online. And we use Lumio quite a bit for our decision making at the general assemblies. Otherwise, like more day-to-day questions and like interaction between co-ops happens on Slack, and then any software issues, platform issues are posted as, or anything that people think would be a welcome addition to the platform. They're all posted onto GitHub, and that's what we use to track the software and issues relating to the software. So that's a bit about the federation, and I'll go on to talking about CoopCycle more specifically. So we're a worker co-op. We've decided to become a collective, but yeah, we came about in roughly 2018. I found out about the project through the CoTech forums, who were a federation of digitally based in the digital field cooperatives. When someone mentioned them, I looked them up. I got in contact with the federation at that point more as a kind of activist role than anything else. And I hosted Mex and Lisson when they came over to present at Open 2018, which there was footage of in the video. And then, yeah, there was a core of people which kind of gathered around this idea. I knew people and was working at the time through for Uber Eats and doing like gig platform work. So yeah, there were 4 of us then got together and pursued the idea of putting together our own cooperative based on CoopCycle and becoming a member of CoopCycle. So during those early days, we spent quite a lot of time asking for feedback about our idea from local businesses, which Business Association here of Independent Traders is called Indy York. And that was a really useful source of information. And anybody that's interested, I would encourage them to seek out similar organisations or associations as early as possible and have conversations as early as possible to try and work out whether your idea is feasible. Because the applications of, like, we mostly do, and I'll come on to this a bit later, we mostly do deliveries from retail to their customers, as well as doing some pre-order food. But other members of the cooperation, the federation, they will do last mile delivery for a bigger courier services like DHL and DPD, etc. Or they'll be doing exclusively on-demand food. Yeah, the range is quite broad what people are doing. So yeah, other tools we found really useful at the initial kind of incubation stage, I suppose, were the social lean canvas, which is a tool for putting together a really kind of concise business plan, really, and getting you to ask certain questions about what it is you want to do. Similarly, and more comprehensively, the CAN feasibility study, which is available on the Hive's website, on the Co-op UK's the Hive website. We found that a really useful tool to use. Yeah, like I said, it's a lot more in depth. And then Seeds for Change have a lot of resources freely available, including those 2 I've got there. Consensus Handbook, which, because we chose to become a collective that uses consensus-based decision making, found that really useful. And then they've also got a more general how to set up a workers' co-op, which covers more kind of governance side as well as like day-to-day admin, and even about bookkeeping and things like that. So yeah, those sort of resources, yeah, I think are kind of must reads, or at least to consider. So yeah, through that process, we then identified key points we wanted our cooperative York Collective to fulfill. So primarily the worker issues as described in the video, to create a workplace that subscribed to cooperative values and provided fair and equal working conditions that come along with those. And at the same time, we were quite conscious of who our customers would be and who we wanted to provide a service to. And at the time, we were thinking about circular economy and regenerative economies and how we can play a part in keeping money local without it going national or international. And so, yeah, our primary aims then were to support the local economy and independent businesses and work closely with Indy York, with Trade Association, which we do now. And then to tie in with other projects that were happening at the time, there were schemes. Shop York was an attempt to create like an Amazon-based service. This was all pre-pandemic. And then because of the functionality of the platform, the e-commerce side as well as the logistics side, is to connect, or the cooperative that uses it can act as an enabler to enable small local producers access to a larger market. Yeah, so to support them to grow. And then community wanted to offer them an opportunity to buy locally and conveniently, so an alternative to bigger multinationals, and that delivery and that service to be timely, cost-effective, professional, and also back to like the cooperative principles. It's there's a concern for the community built into what we do. So we did a lot of work with an organisation called the CoopCycle and York Collective through the pandemic, delivering to the local hospital meals that were provided free from local restaurants. And then environmental aims as well, reducing the amount of vehicles in York City Centre and the, improving the air quality alongside that, and to promote cycling as a genuine alternative. So yeah, we yeah, these are a few pictures from when we started up. So our the first piece of work we did before we became incorporated was with a project in York that since I don't think it's any longer running. So we worked alongside them. That was our first paid bit of work, and that was before we incorporated. And then we decided to put that money towards incorporation. So effectively, we started with nothing, but like at the same time we did have bikes, etc., etc. So yeah, we used our own resources, but monetarily wise, yeah, we didn't put any of our own money into it, bar the work we did working this other project. And then through lockdown for about best part of the last year, so we incorporated at the beginning of 2020. And the best part of last year, we were doing on-demand food for local businesses alongside, so that's the picture in the middle, and the picture on the left, we were working with CoopCycle Collective. So yeah, we did food delivery for a bit on demand, and it just didn't quite mesh. We found at least that we couldn't really provide a viable, a sustainable service for us on the same kind of conditions that are offered by the gig economy platforms. But there are co-ops which are successfully doing it. So yeah, each to their own. So yeah, the services we're offering at the moment, last mile delivery, primarily from retail to customers, but we also do a lot of pre-ordered food from smaller producers to their customers. We do some customer to business occasionally. People book us to pick up samples, to take to vets or things like that. And some customer to customer, so occasionally somebody will book delivery of I think there was one too long ago, like a rose to a restaurant where they were going to have a meal that evening, so it was booked for a certain time and delivered it. And then the platform allows all those transactions and those delivery orders to be tracked, and they need to provide a signature or photo confirmation or whatever it may be, whatever is appropriate. And so we deliver to the whole of York, but York's quite a small city, so and quite flat at that. So yeah, we can quite easily get around. Yeah, and as I said, businesses, retailers, and private customers being our clients. So if you're interested in joining CoopCycle, there's now a process, an onboarding process, And yeah, so first they organise introductory meetings that will either be with one of the volunteers or one of the members of the federation from one of the local co-ops. And then there's a partnership agreement which has been written up for interested parties to sign. And then there'll be further meetings, and eventually the process doesn't take too long, but yeah, then you'll have access to your own instance. So the federation hosts all the instances of the platform, no matter where they be. So ours is york.coopcycle.org. There'll be other local co-ops with their own servers, all hosted by the federation. I think that's the end of my presentation. I was trying to think if there's anything I haven't covered which is relevant. I can't. So yeah, if there's any questions, then yeah,
Well,
please feel free.
thank you very much, Matt. Maybe if you wanted to stop sharing, we bring everybody on the same kind of page. Fantastic. Thank you, Matt. Very, very in-depth. We understood quite a lot. Maybe we open the floor to some of the questions, please, if you have any questions.
Hi, Matt. Thanks for that. Really excited to hear about your work. And once you've answered the question a little bit, I'm really keen to know a wee bit more about what do you actually deliver. Really interested in that final mile piece, because I'm based in Belfast with the lovely Tiziana here to my left, and you know, similar. I'm not too sure how we compare to York, but you know, Belfast isn't as big a city as, you know, in the greater sense. A bit more hilly than York, but I'm really interested to know how that could work. So I'm keen to know a wee bit more about what you deliver and who for, and is it all independence, and also just in terms of pay, like what's the average pay for a rider and that kind of thing. I'd be really keen to know that if you can share. Yeah,
so the pay for us, we decided on £15 an hour for our riders. So we price our work accordingly with an amount that goes towards the co-op as well. But that amount, yeah, how much you pay your riders, all the conditions of employment are entirely up to the local co-op. There's no like dictation by the federation on what those conditions are. But at the same time, like the members of those co-ops, those local co-ops are, if they have any issues, then the federation has historically stepped in to arbitrate. Like, yeah, people think they're being paid unfairly.
And how does that relate to the bigger gig economy guys?
Well, they're paid per job, so yeah, it's difficult to draw like a comparison. But yeah, the primary aim, yeah, I didn't really cover this in the presentation, or payment-wise is, and this is a stipulation by the federation, is that the pay is per hour.
Yeah, understandable, perfect, yeah.
Regarding what we deliver, mainly retail, but yeah, that could be anything. So we've got homewares places, whole food places, yeah, a real broad range.
And are they all independents, Matt, or is there?
Yeah, they are, that we work with. But yeah, again, that's who we work with. Other cooperatives are working with much bigger organizations.
Right.
And we're still pretty much in our infancy. So yeah, that's the route we've chosen to go down. But who's to say, we might be able to, yeah, work with bigger organizations.
Scale and everything else. No, that's great. Thank you.
And then the food side of stuff as well is something we do, but not, like I say.
And what about that final mile stuff? So is there like a depot, a DHL
okay, yeah.
depot, then the riders come and pick up and take it that final journey? That's really
The way,
fascinating to me.
the way we work logistically at the moment is an order will be put in normally next day by the retailer, sometimes same day, and we'll pick up from the retailer. So there's no need for storage. We'll just pick up and deliver. Yeah, we're not consolidating at the moment any of the deliveries, but when we do bulk deliveries, they're normally from a single organization or retailer. So it's picking up from their premises and delivering. We don't have a particular need at the moment for a depot or like a transshipment hub. But like if you were doing the last mile delivery on behalf of the national couriers, then yeah, there'd have to be some location that parcels got dropped off at.
Can I ask you about a couple of questions about your membership? So how do you recruit new riders? Do you take anybody? Do you have a probation period? And also, just to follow up on the conversation about wage, what kind of contract of employment do you offer? It's employment or are they self-employed? So what is the relationship between the riders and the co-op? Thank you.
Yeah, so to cover your last point first, at the moment we're self-employed with all the members are directors of the business. So we contract ourselves to do the work. However, that's not what we want to do long term. We want to offer an employment contract and the co-op to be an employer. So that's where we are at with that at the moment. For new members, we've got the four original founders as members at the moment. We are looking to take on new people. At the moment, we haven't got a probation period, but that's something we've seriously considered, and we just haven't got around to like decision making on it really, because yeah, we're I suppose trying to balance taking on new people with the work we have. So it's something we want to formalize for sure, and we're actively looking for members. But what we've had difficulty in a kind of more pragmatic sense, what we've had difficulty at the kind of embryonic and early stages of the co-op is finding people that have the time to commit to the co-op. So that's kind of the filtering process at the moment, because there's lots of work, the admin side of stuff, which yeah, at the beginning there's no real income, so you have to kind of sweat equity.
And that commitment time-wise, do you have a limit, a threshold? You know, it's 10 hours per week, or it's something that you have?
We haven't put a limit on it. Again, I know some co-ops have. Yeah, I suppose we're aware of different people having different levels of commitment to home and family and work than they do outside of the co-op as well. So it's, yeah, we haven't put a hard and fast rule in place regarding that. But at the same time, no, we haven't found anybody that isn't, like, none of our members aren't willing to put in the time. If people are feeling stressed, then they say so. That's a really important part, I think, of it, is the communication between members. And if people are feeling stressed or they feel like they're putting more time in, and creating those conditions with which those people can communicate that they're feeling those stresses, and that other people can step in and take over whatever task they may be performing.
Interesting.
Yeah, but yeah, I think you're right, that as we grow, hopefully, those things really need putting in stone. But there's almost probably a kind of an organic process which is happening that will arrive at like what we feel is a suitable like amount of time. Yeah, and similarly, probation period is something we need to like formalize.
I'm keen to hear from Thiago. You are in the middle of all this, are you, Thiago?
Hi guys, pleased to meet you. I'm holding myself here. I'm in Dublin. Okay, guys, we don't have a co-op here yet. I think the key of I probably gonna be a storm of questions now, but I hope not suffocate you. Something that we struggle here, we don't find people really committed to do delivery because the majority are people not from Dublin and students that technically legally are not allowed to join this kind of thing. How you could say, you think it's possible we create something here that we could allocate those students to be the writers for us, or you think that this will not fit in a co-op environment? Definitely not.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think how it works. So the way the federation, or like one of the other stipulations for membership of the federation, is that like the riders are the workers, which are the directors. So yeah, because you'd still need an organization, or at least a nucleus of people which were like permanent, or like had permanence. They weren't just students that were coming in and working a term sort of thing. Yeah, so if you could find that core of people again, I suppose that would be the way to do it, and still like fulfill the requirements of federation membership, would be to have like 3-4 people that were riding and delivering, and directors and members of the co-op. Yeah, that's a tough one. Yeah, because it's the same anyway. Like York with the gig economy platforms is mainly students again, and finding people that are in a position financially, socially, etc., to be able to put time towards creating a co-op. Yeah, it's quite difficult. Yeah, so I don't really, I suppose, have the way we got in contact originally was knowing each other through working for the gig platforms. Will came actually, his background was in the IWGB. So yeah, he came along a little bit later, but only by a matter of months. And yeah, he expressed interest in joining, and like he was heavily involved in the IWGB, so it meshed quite well with his interest at the time.
I have something else then. You think the model that they give to us from this app would allow us to do people-to-people deliveries? Like one of the biggest delivery companies in Brazil, for example, they deliver people-to-people. What means I got my car and I went to work, and I realized at work that I forgot my jean bag, okay, and my wife's at home. Then I'm gonna go to the app and ask for someone pick up that bag and bring to me to my work, and I'm gonna pay for that.
Yep.
The app allows that to people, like without be like a retail or something, or a restaurant to someone.
Yeah, so the platform uses Stripe as its payment processor. So there's a booking form. If you go on the CoopCycle website, coopcycle.org, and if you want it in English, /EN, I think natively it's in French. There's a demo instance of the platform with the login details on there as well to get into the demo. And you can see all the functionality of the web side of it. The app side of it isn't quite as up to date as the web version is. But yeah, people will be able to, individual will be able to book on that form, pick up address, drop off address, and pay through that form, I think. So yeah, there shouldn't be any issues. Yeah, doing person to person.
Great.
Matt, how flexible is the platform? Now, I can't really think an example, but I'm thinking about, platforms sometimes give me the impression of very rigid way of doing. is there a possibility, if you become part of the federation, of course, and share the rights, to adopt, change? Is it flexible enough for each single local cooperative to have their own platform? How does it work?
Yeah, so each individual co-op has their own instance of the platform, but they're all instances of the platform are using the same technology, so they all have the same abilities.
Yeah.
So if you, I suppose at the moment, if there was functionality of the platform that you wanted, you could post that into onto GitHub or onto the Slack channel, and eventually somebody would have enough time to work on it. But if you wanted something with more immediacy, I suppose, you'd try and get a few of the local co-ops together that were interested in that functionality, and you'd try and push that through. But as it is, the platform is quite adaptable. There's the e-commerce side of it, as well as the logistics side. And the e-commerce side of it, you can have like online shops on there. You can even host your own online shop. Like that's something we're investigating at the moment. Is like we're aware that we're reliant on local businesses to deliver through us. So having our own presence, e-commerce presence on there to generate our own workers, I suppose, as people buying whatever it may be from us. So then we can kind of regulate our own work.
During your presentation, Matt, you very much emphasized the need to engage with the trader association, the local trader association. What kind of question did you ask them at the beginning? Was it all about market research? What was the interaction you had?
Yeah, so just generally our interaction. So we, or personally, I went and helped out a lot with the Indie York. Like we became a member quite early because it was or is reasonably cheap to join. And I spent a lot of time giving like an odd hour here and there, helping on their stalls when they're handing out leaflets and things like that, and becoming like a known face within the association. So a known body, a known entity sort of thing, New York Collective anyway. But yeah, this, because we were incorporated, or we like started this as a kind of a proper project, like really started to get this going during the first kind of waves of the coronavirus coming in and the pandemics. There was, I suppose, within that bubble, there was a need. There was an existent need for home delivery from those stores that remained open. But like, yeah, we'd started talking to Indie York before that anyway. Yeah, gauging what demand they had for home delivery, how often they want to make those deliveries, how quickly they were capable of making those deliveries. So something we thought would be attractive was offering same-day delivery. But our feedback from that was that lots of local businesses need like the afternoon or the evening or whatever it is, or the next morning, need that time to be able to pack and dispatch their delivery. So yeah, most of the work we do at the moment is same day because of that, because they're collecting like a box worth of items to send off, and that needs time. Whereas like the bookshop we work for, they're happy to send out stuff the same day, because like, it's just picking it off the shelf and handing it over, sort of thing, putting it in a parcel and handing it over. So yeah, that was quite important, just to ask them what their needs were. Yeah, and that kind of obviously affects what services we have to concentrate on.
And at what time you are able to give it
yeah.
to it's interesting, yes. So you cannot assume anything in business.
No, yeah, exactly.
What was the most challenging part of your development, Matt? If you could, if you can pick one thing that you would say, "Oh my God, I would not go through that again," what would be?
Oh yeah, I was in a video call the other day when it was talking about innovation, and there was a period in there where there's a trough of like despair, of like when you start off with an idea, you're really enthusiastic about the idea, so there's enough energy around it, and then you get to this point where maybe it's not as successful, or there's various factors that come into it, but you slowly start to question the things that you do. And yeah, I suppose this is not a specific answer, but yeah, this process of starting something new, having this idea, putting a load of energy in because you're excited about it, and then it kind of, I suppose, fatigue sets in. And I suppose we're kind of, or just coming out of that, I suppose. So seeing a project through to when it starts plateauing and like it's steady work, and yeah, it's consistent. So yeah, working through that as a whole kind of project, I'd say that was the most difficult bit. Yeah, that was the biggest challenge.
So really, it's a kind of a persevere with your idea.
Yeah.
And try to consider those dips as part of the process.
Yeah,
really.
And the nice thing about being part of the Federation is that you can see where it can lead to, and you know what those people have also trod the same path. So yeah, you know there is kind of light at the end of the tunnel, like there will be fruits of your labor eventually.
Yeah, and you're doing something really interesting, and it's always about trying to provide alternatives really in a sector that we know works, but works for the big corporation, but not for the people working for them.
Yeah.
So you are reversing all that.
Yeah,
So,
I think on that point, just to add quickly, that it's quite interesting that some co-ops in some countries, there's never been a gig platform present. So there's cities in Germany, or Deliveroo aren't even in Germany anymore, I don't think. But there are cities that never had Deliveroo or Uber Eats, and so those co-ops have filled that role from the beginning, and yeah, they're really interesting case studies.
okay, we had some new people kind of joining in, but just opening the floor for the last few questions, if there are any. Well, do we have any questions? Tiago, you wanted to ask anything else?
No, I think he answered lots. Was very good. Thanks for that. I think it's just about my main thing that was not really answered, I think, was just how much do you struggle to get people as well to join and stays there and have. You think your cooperators now, they are happy with the income they are receiving, or you have struggle with people leaving because they said, oh, sorry, we are not having enough deliveries, it's not worth it to stay in the co-op? Did you have that?
No, like all our founder members are still members. We haven't had anybody come and leave in between. So yeah, I suppose it's just luck. Like if you have the number of people with the kind of same level of devotion to like trying to start an alternative and trying to start this cooperative, then yeah, I'm not really too sure how you can necessarily attract the people without just like going out and conversing with people and talking to people and finding people with similar interests. There's no, I don't think there's really an easy answer to it. Yeah, because I'm sure there are people out there that have come across the platform that haven't had that, being able to find that nucleus of people to start like an instance in their area, a cooperative in their area. It's a difficult.
Can I maybe bring it to this conversation, maybe a conversation around the values and principles? Was that something that played a part, Matt, in your retaining people interest? Because your values and your principles were different and you were able to articulate that difference?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think on a kind of more macro level, that we all shared the same values, and we were kind of all arriving at the same point anyway, as like there has to be an answer, an alternative to working for the gig platforms. How that was implemented, yeah, there was disagreement on. But like at the same time, there are like practicalities of what you can actually implement at the time, which kind of narrows things down a bit. And we chose to be a collective with consensus decision making. I suppose to be able to more easily, not easily, but as a tool to navigate those problems where we arrived at a conclusion where everybody felt they had a say and ownership of that final answer, that nobody was feeling like their terms were dictated to them. So the rate of pay that we agreed was agreed by all members, and it was, yeah, we came to consensus on it. And that's not to say that like that will be set in stone. Like all the decisions that we've arrived upon over time, they might change depending on who else becomes involved, and we go and do other things. We're no longer members, and then it just reacts to the needs and the wants of whoever's involved at the time, and fulfills their needs. And that's the important thing, I suppose. This is the cooperative, and well, at least in our minds, the cooperative and like the federation and the platform, they're all just tools to be able to, I suppose, just have a wage to be able to live. It's like, we're not like doing all this because we want to, like, I don't know, create, or we can't through the federation because they're all localities, but create like a massive company. We're doing it to fulfill like our own like human needs. Yeah, so I suppose that's how it differs a bit from like traditional business, where you're just wanting to make a surplus or profit and then like retire on it or whatever. And that's.
And now all of you have committed for a time of working, like you guys have committed that all of you for supply the chain need to work 5-6 hours a day riding, or you guys are free to choose what time you want to work?
The way we work at the moment normally is based on where the work comes in, although like if there's lots of work in one area and nobody's had any work, then we'll share it out. But yeah, because there are 4 of us and I lived in reasonably in the like quarters of the city, we'd cover that. And then the like bulk dispatch jobs we'd all do together depending on who was available and how many jobs that actually was. So we've not encountered any conflict with regards to allocation of work, because we've tried to be quite fair. But again, I think over time this is something we need to put into some sort of like formal process. Yeah, exactly.
And all of you are using bicycles?
Yes, yeah. That's one of the stipulations at the moment of being in the federation, is that all the work is done by bike or e-bike. There has been some discussion around some of the co-ops in South America wanting to use mopeds because of the terrain. But I'm not sure that has been resolved yet, whether there's been a decision.
Tiago, would you like to give us a quick maybe overview of where are you with your co-op? I remember I met you a long time ago, and
absolutely, yeah, it was quite long. I have quite stopped my process. My process is slowed down because exactly I'm finding difficult to find people who want to engage. We have a huge number of writers here, but my problem is go through the process and how I put them in the co-op, you know, like that's what's hold me back. For example, Saulo that you met the last meeting as well. Saulo is a good guy. He wants to commit it, but we have a struggle that he technically at the moment he's illegal in the country. And he actually can't be legally engaged in a paperwork or something such because he's waiting or Dublin that's coming now with a way for people who are here a long time be legally. And that's something that the government, the minister was away and she come back now. She just got passed back like last month, and now the process is to come. And people who are here now quite a long time illegal, they are be allowed to apply to be legally. And Saulo is one of these guys, for example, you know, and you have a lot of students as well that are delighted to be joining, but as students, they actually can't be part yet because I didn't find a way to create the co-op with these people. And what's more struggling is most of these students as well, they are just in a short timeline here. And it's hard to find people who actually, they come for 8 months or maybe 2 years, but after that they will be gone, you know, and we're going to be there. And, you know, how this is struggling me, holding me back to make that, you know, part of people who want to get. I find few people as well committed to the delivery thing and we would love to join and have their own business too, but most of them are in motorcycles then, because at this time periods they was in bicycles doing Deliveroo and other companies, but now because of the amount of work we have here and in a motorcycle you make more money, and they now few of them have stepped to the motorcycle way to do the business and not the bicycle, and then that put me back too. You know, 3 of them that they were cycling with me long time over COVID. Now they did their drive license and they have their motorcycles and they are doing the same business with motorcycles. What's almost triplicate their income, and I totally understand because you're able to do much more in a motorcycle. Your physical is not. But it's tricky. That's what holds me back, you know. Like, I like the cycling. I like the part of the thing to do the exercise for myself. But unfortunately, people need to think in their pockets as well, right? And for me, this is just a second thing, not my primary thing. Then it's where I'm struggling there to get this thing more engaged.
We also have members of the federation. There's a co-op in Chorlton Bike Delivery. So they had no background with regard to gig economy. They set up at the beginning of lockdowns to deliver to people isolating. Similar sort of thing to the Supper Collective in York. But yeah, they were just interested from the kind of cooperative side of things, and they have older members. So yeah, maybe look beyond gig economy workers. I suppose lots of people will work for the gig economy because it's convenient at the time and it's easy to just be transient. You can start when you want and you can stop when you want, and yeah, that's it. So I don't know if there are any other projects local to you that there may be people maybe more interested even in the cooperative side of stuff rather than the like delivery side of stuff.
Well, I think it's fascinating about how, you know, real issues prevent us to maybe choose an alternative that really suits us. But I'm confident that with the right committed group, and with the support of a group around the table that can actually explore solutions, you may reach a point where you will have something that is more in tune with the needs of that group in particular.
Yeah. Thanks for that. That brought me a lot of lights. I think he brought a lot of things that it's hard to forget there, but exactly that. I something that's holding me back maybe for doubling here, for I really get people engaged. I will not need to find someone else that's not a CoopCycle, because I will need to go for something that is not just bicycles. Or I definitely still believe that the co-op is something that will exist, you know, a co-op to delivery. But principle, because here in the market it doesn't have what I just mentioned before. We don't have someone delivering people to people when they forgot things around. And I think that will be a very good income for the co-op here. But yeah, I will get there. Thanks for your support.
Well, thank you, Matt. Thank you for your very, very interesting, informative time, and tell us your experience in such much detail. So that's really what we wanted. And thank you. You deliver to us, definitely. And I would love to thank you. This is our virtual hug, and hopefully see you in the future.
Yes, hopefully.
Yeah, and anytime you wanted to come to. Oh, hello, Helen.
Hello, sorry, I was on late, so very apologies. That's why, and then I was trying to eat something quickly because I hadn't, so I didn't want to put my camera on. Sorry, it was very informative. Thank you, Matt. And Tiago was listening as well, so that's why my camera wasn't on. I wasn't being rude. I didn't, and then I didn't know if because I'm on my phone, I couldn't work out whether I was on mute or was the camera was on or off. So sorry. So apologies for that.
This session will be recorded, Helen, so we try to do.
Oh, yeah, I heard that. Yeah. Yeah, I saw that because when I came on, it said in recording in progress. I thought, oh no, I'm not going to start eating. It's on TV. So thank you.
But we bring it to a close. If there are no urgent questions, we bring it to a close. And we thank Matt again. Tiago, great to hear from Dublin. And thank you, Helen. Thank you, Stephen, as well, for participating. And see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thanks for the help, Mike.
Thank you. Bye.